Yeah, hello everybody. So, heartily welcome to the Fun Day Sunday live stream. So today I thought we will just have like a bit of fun, coding in Rust, working with some infrastructure. So, like, I'm aware like my audience is like a bit split. Like there are Rust programmers and there are people from chemical engineering. And yeah, today we will start with a bit of, let's say, tooling around this yeah, tooling which software developers know very good, like development environments with containers. So when you test web applications, you often set up like a specific development environment with different servers, and in our case we will just have a simple database server, and that's what you also can see here. So if you want to follow along, you can install the needed tooling, or in case if you're like already have like Visual Studio and Docker installed, you can just start those containers. So in this repository I just provide a development container and some Docker Compose files to set up two services, mainly the Postgres database server and the front end to yeah, it's called pgadmin, which is just for administrators to check if everything is working. We won't dig too deep into that here. So, all right. So our agenda now is like we want to fire up Visual Studio Code. And as you can see here, in my case, the repository is already opened, but below here you can see, okay, it's not connected to a remote container. So what you can do here is, for example, you can just say reopen in container, and then Visual Studio does it work. If you do this the first time, this will take some time. But in my case, because I did it and everything is registered, like the image is built and most of the bigger working steps are registered in a local registry, so it doesn't take too long. And yeah, so what happened now under the hood is really we opened this Visual Studio Code with a Linux backend. Maybe you had noticed I am using a Windows PC, what is not so common, I guess. Most people in computer science work with Linux because there are a lot of good toolings for developers. And like this development container now, we also have Linux running here. So if I get up a shell, you can see all those ls, for example, it's a command to list the content of a directory. So that is now connected. And yeah, so what's that? Why is it changed? I know. Okay. What you can also do beside reopen a container, if you hit F1, you can also clone the repository in a container volume. So if I do this, we would what was the name again? I think it's starter something. Yeah, it's diesel stream starter. And what happened here, why there are modifications, because I have a Windows host system and my container is running in Linux, and the text files that use different line endings. So at least that is my actual guess what is happening here. So I just reopen this in a so-called Docker volume. So we have a special volume for our code now, and here we don't have changes in the source control. Okay, but yeah, let's investigate those files, right? So when you set up this Docker files or Docker containers, what you normally do is you just rely on a image. So here this is from Rust1 Bockworm. And I think if I search for it, yeah, you find this on Docker Hub, some information about this image. And so that was not what I was actually searching. But here you can see for Rust there's a specific Docker container base image or several, like they have different names, and you just select those. And then you can actually run like some Windows commands. So what I did here is like just update the package manager and install the Postgres development library. And afterwards we use Cargo to install the Diesel command line interface for Postgres. Okay. So the dev container JSON is a bit more complicated, but in the end you can, this is a file that glues your, can you see this? Maybe I should change to this view. You can glue your container to Visual Studio Code. There are specific features. One, what is quite interesting, I think, is like you can use Docker outside of Docker, which is this container engine. And we want to start more containers now from within this development container. That's why we need it. And so there's another configuration file for this. So it's called Docker Compose. And here we define multiple services. So we have a Postgres service, which is called Postgres latest. We have some environment variables. Here I just gave very stupid user credentials, so that's not very secure, but we are just trying things out here, right? And besides that, I added a second image just with a web front end for administration of Postgres. And the nice thing now is if you click right here, there's a command called Docker Compose. So we can run Docker Compose up. And yeah, on your side, if you do this the first time, I think it will take 1 or 2 minutes. But now we have a setup running. Okay, so what do we have now? We have the host system. In my case, this is Windows. Then we have now this Visual Studio Code running in like a Linux environment, and we just started 2 more Linux containers for the Postgres database and for the Postgres administration. What we do now is we will have a look at the Docker Desktop, which is running here. So here you can see what is actually happening. So this container is what I said first, Linux. And we have the administration interface here. If I click on this, you can see, okay, it asks me for the credentials. So I choose admin and admin123 here. And so this is now a front end for administration of Postgres servers. What we want to do is we want to get our server in here. Let's call it Postgres test server. Connection is a tab. And let's go here. I think I choose root here, and password is admin123, very secure. Okay. Let's save this. No, that's not working because it's an isolated network. Let me check shortly. We can see it here, I think. Postgres -1 is the name. No, name cannot be resolved. What the fuck? Let's check. You can use this Docker desktop to do some inspections too if you're running containers. Let's see what is with the network. Okay, we would have an IP address here, but I'm wondering why is the hostname not working? I see. It's without -1, so there was a mistake. Save it. Okay. Yeah, I just used admin123 here, and Chrome doesn't like it. I can see that. All right. So now we have the Postgres server connected here. Here are some databases. I think this Thermo database, it's still from my test runs before the stream. So we'll just delete it now. Okay, but yeah, that's quite good to just get an overview of the databases. So we will now switch to back to Visual Studio Code and get our Diesel setup run. So what we want to do is we want to use this database server and store persistent data on this side, and for this we will use a crate. This is called Diesel. So it's in the end object relationship mapping and query builder for Rust, and so I will now just set up the cargo files I guess. So let's start with a library. ThermoDB lib. Let me use minus here. And we will also build a command line interface. And now we have this structure where we also can add a cargo toml at the top, and we make this a workspace. Probably I should have started with the workspace and stuff would come automatically, right? I'm a bit confused, so why don't I get autocorrect completion here? So we have these members, lib and CLI. We need a resolver. I think just resolver. Probably it's a string too. Okay, so workspace is set up. We also need workspace dependencies, so we will use Diesel. I don't know. Yeah, that's always nice when you get the autocomplete. But why I don't get it. What we need is features equals to Postgres. So, yeah. So we have 2.1. Okay. Just took some time for the autocomplete to show up. All right. Yeah, and here it's just the starter. So what we need to do now is maybe let's talk shortly about the Diesel tooling, because Diesel, when you recall, it comes with this Diesel CLI, and that means when I now type Diesel here, we can use a lot of commands like migration, database, and so on, and setup. And setup creates the migration directory. And yeah, we also need to set up a database URL here. And that's what we want to start with. Now maybe we can get more info specific to Diesel setup. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should set up this environment variable. So I will shortly look here. I think they set up this environment in a .env file. We will do the same. Just get the string out. So now let us remember, username was root, I guess. Password was admin123. I'm not sure how localhost will work. Postgres. Okay. And let's call this our thermodb. Okay. I think we should also generate the database here, right? Create database, our thermodb. So I guess this is sometimes a bit fast, but yeah. So now we have an empty database here. We have an environment variable that can be used for the Diesel CLI to understand what our URL is. Nonetheless, I think we move this in the library folder.
Playing from RGDevPC02.
No, library folder isn't provided. Never mind. Or I want to run Diesel now in the library folder. Diesel setup. So we have to move it in the library folder. Later we need it probably in the in the folder where it was now. What happens now? It's setting up all the let's say database communication stuff Diesel needs for managing the Postgres server. And there's a concept that is quite common in development with databases. It's called migrations. But first thing first, we have errors. Okay. What the fuck? No ping. Let's install, right? Come on. You realize I'm a Windows user, right? Okay. Well, this is a Docker and Docker, right? So it should be accessible this way. Let's get rid on the migrations folder first. And the diesel toml. Because the operation was not successful, let's try it again. At least I don't see a error message this time. Whatever. So that's always like a little funny, right? Yeah, in the dev container we can access the ports over our local host because the ports are exposed to the dev container. But here, when I used this web browser, I was on the host system. That was why. Yeah, I'm actually still. I'm not sure why wasn't Postgres not working. Was there a typo maybe? What now happened is like we got this file set up for Diesel. There's a toml file that points to a chamber and to a migration directory. So let's check. The schema is not here yet, but we have the first migration, and this is always like 2 files, one to set things up, and Diesel does this at the beginning just for managing its own updates, as far as I understand from this. And we will come up with our own migration soon. Because database, it's normally it's a table or multiple tables. I actually let's see. I think I have there something. So what you often see is like entity relationship diagrams, they are called, and this is how you could like describe interactions between databases. And this is just like to get the concept right. So we have a table here, and these are not rows, these are columns. Like there's an ID, or like nearly always some more data, like what is a molecular formula in our case, and we want to use properties to what is like the specific heat capacity and stuff like that in pressure and vapor regions. Let's maybe check Wikipedia later for our database schema. So the next things are we want to use Diesel. I think it was migration. Yeah, it is Diesel migration. This is a command line tool. We need to get some help. So, and Diesel migration come with some commands. So you can run a migration. That is what we will do next to get our first table set up. You can revert it again. That is what the down SQL files do. And you can use redo or list. And I think what we now do is we just use this generate here. Let's do this. Diesel migration generate. And we need a migration name. Let's call this single table. Okay, and there's a new folder, but now it's our task and to come up with the content of those files, because SQL it's not simple query language. What was it? SQL structured query language, probably. I have to check. Sorry. SQL meaning. Yeah, it's structured. Okay, so it's just a language for databases, and I need to let's see. I think they have something similar here. We will just copy that and adapt it to our parts. So we have a molecule which has an ID, let's say a name. Why is this highlighted? Let's call this display name, be sure here. A molecule formula. And now maybe have some fun. Let's go to Wikipedia. You remember we did in the videos for Pragmatic Rust for engineers, we checked wiki and ammonia. We checked the Haber-Bosch process, and the Haber-Bosch process, it produces ammonia and thermodynamic properties. Like, we won't go into the details here in this stream, what they are, but there will be an upcoming season where this will be, we will look in it deeper. What they're used for is like, what they are is like all this stuff, density, what is the melting or boiling point, a lot of different stuff like heat capacities and so on. And if you work with simulation, you end up with so-called property methods that help you to describe how mixtures interact with each other over coefficients, and there are different properties. So I would say we just stick to density, melting point, or boiling point now. So otherwise we will write a lot, right? Density. Let's call it float, I guess. So it looks good. Boiling point. And what was the English word? Melting point, yeah. So molecules, they come in like three different phases, and these are the points where they switch at, let's say, normal atmosphere pressure. We will save it here. And that's the interesting thing about thermodynamic properties, because when the states change, like you have another pressure or temperature, also these parameters, at least some, the density, I think, has some requirements too. Like in case of density, is like the pressure and temperature, I think, but for the melting point is mostly given at like a specific pressure, because if you change pressure, temperature changes too, or like it is intercoupled. Okay, let's see. We now have like the up file. That means we could run this. Well, I remember trailing commas, it's nothing. Failed to run empty querying. Wrong file. I put it in down SQL, but we set this migration up, right? So I just changed the file. Okay, so now we have a new single table. We are the diesel CLI, and the nice thing is now if you would have a production system and you change something, you can just run this migration and change and add to the production system. And if you realize, oh, there was a bug in the last commit, you need to be able to get the migration back. And well, here it is maybe a bit much. Because we just dropped the table. We can test this with redo now. Yeah, so that's redo is working too. So that is The diesel guide says like, yeah, always tests that you can redo on your development machine. And well, with that setup, we can probably shortly check our database here. Our Thermo database. SQL. Okay, that's fine. Schemas probably. Yeah. Tables, yeah, that's what we want to see. Ah, yeah, and there's a molecule table. And as you can see here, we have even some more information. We have the primary key ID here. Did I put it in the... Didn't put it in the migration, do I? Doch. Ah, there it is. I did put the ID in the migration. Okay. Yeah. And I wonder, where can I see columns, constraints? I want to see rows. There's no row yet, but never mind. Okay, so now we have finally set up the database, like half an hour in. And we're ready to actually use Diesel in programming. And for this, our library Targo Toml needs also the dependency to Diesel. We also already defined this in the workspace, right? And then the first thing we want to do is like to get up a connection. So establish connection. I think it will return some kind of result. Maybe just start with the use statement first. Somehow my auto... Is the container installed? I don't have auto completion, and I'm a bit confused by that in this container. So it's Rust Analyzer installed. That is my want to check. There it is. But something is wrong. Ah, there's an error message. Yeah, you should write correct TOML files, otherwise you don't get features is probably an array, right? Rust Analyzer running. Okay. It looks better. Hopefully now I get some autocomplete. That looks good. Says PG connection. Okay, that is our result. And probably we can have some kind of Diesel error. Connection error. Sounds good for me. I mean, we will be quite near to what is done in the getting started here, right? So if something is not working out, we can always come back and check here. Okay. Let's see. I establish, well, that is, we need a database URL. Okay. So we'll just get the stuff from the YAML file here. If I recall, there was also this env package, right? And the getting started. Yeah, they use env. So what was the dependency name? What the fuck? Oh yeah, there's a tomahawk. .env. Okay. Let us use this too. Okay. So what we now use is environment variables. What do we get here? I don't recall, where was it? Okay, we need to unwrap. And then yes, it's. I want to train my memory, but I cannot recall what was it. Was it like variable or something? File name, set with file name. Okay, I have to check. .env, okay. Env var, I see. And the key is database URL. Okay, probably